Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This is a bunch of Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Hey, everybody. It is Friday, April 5th, 2019, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we do indeed use the first to defend the second. Glad that those of you who are here have decided to spend this time with us. Want to give shout outs and thank yous to everybody out there in the chat, and especially my wonderful esteemed panel members. Let's go ahead and starting from left to right. Welcome, Stealth Hunter. How you doing, sir?
I'm awake. I'm here, peeps. I arrived on time.
Outstanding. That you're ahead of the curve of 90% of the people, though.
Indeed.
Roll call. How you doing living out there on Tulsa time?
Oh, man, it's beautiful. I love it. Thanks for having me. I can't wait for the show tonight.
Now I know how Calaveras 32 special kind of felt getting his face rubbed in it, because you're rubbing that sunshine in mine, buddy. Man.
I'm sorry.
I even heard birds chirping and crap. Ugh. Black Cat says, Budget Guns and Gear, if you want some info on Pittsburgh, shoot me a link. I'm in the loop. Yeah. Do I have your email address? I should.
I can send him the link if you need to.
Yeah, send him the link, would you? Because we are going to talk about the Pittsburgh thing.
All right, give me 1 second.
All right. Now, going on, the Kingpin himself, David Bowling. How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing well. Thanks for having me. Hopefully everybody else is doing good, too.
Hey, I'm on top of the dung heap, man. It's all good.
Better than being underneath of it.
That's right. That's right. I'm the rooster sitting on top going cock-a-doodle-doo. Or at least that's what I tell myself as I'm trying to swim to the top. All right. Out there in the YouTube's side, we got Calaveras 32 special. He was here first and asking if I'm going to rub their faces in a pile of magazines like a puppy that didn't ask to go outside. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Sorry, but got to report the news. Jason Stewart's out there. Let's see. Stealth Hunters pulling double duty. Tacos and French fries. Welcome, welcome. Johnny Sprague. Mad Sexy Man of the Night. Black Cat. Let's see who else we got out there. It looks like it so far. Seven Wonders. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Clint Torres. Glad to see you guys. Over on the Gun Channel side, which, by the way, we are simulcast live over there on Gun Channels. If you are not a Gun Channels member, why the hell aren't you? It's absolutely free. And it is the water cooler of the Internet's Second Amendment community. You can find someone to talk with and something to talk about 24/7, 365 over there. They never roll up the sidewalks and shut down the awnings, man. It's always there, always open. And there's always someone to talk with over there. So go on over and check it out. And over there, we have Rich White, who appears to be snoozing. Looks like we had a couple of late entries here onto the chat. Let's see who we got. We got Black Cat hopped in. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight, Budget?
Wonderful, as always. It's Friday. I'm doing my favorite thing. So, well, maybe not my favorite thing. There are some things that knock it off. But the favorite thing that I can talk about on the air, Night Strike, how you doing, sir?
You know what? Now's not a good time. Move on.
Okay. Well, that I'm sorry to hear that.
He got interrupted doing his favorite thing. Somebody walked in.
Oh no. Well,
not on this channel, okay?
Yeah, not on this one. Got Rob D jumping in on the chat out there. Thank you, thank you. Glad to see you. So let's go ahead and get into this. The big news of the week, it was the federal judge that ruled that California's magazine ban on quote-unquote high-cap magazines was unconstitutional. This is a piece by A.W.R. Hawkins from March 29th. The U.S. District Court for the Southern District of California ruled Friday that California's ban on ammunition magazines holding more than 10 rounds violates the Second Amendment. On June 29, 2017, Breitbart News reported that U.S. District Judge Roger Benitez blocked the implementation of California's high-capacity magazine ban 2 days before it was to go into effect. He noted that the ban could not survive the test of District of Columbia versus Heller, noting that when the simple test of Heller is applied, the statute is adjudged an unconstitutional abridgment. On July 17, 2018, the three-judge panel for the United States Circuit Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit upheld Benitez's ruling, voting 2-1 against the ban and sending the case back to Benitez. On March 29, 2019, Benitez again ruled against the ban, issuing an order barring California Attorney General Javier Becerra from enforcing the ban. Benitez again relied upon Heller, noting that millions of ammunition magazines able to hold more than 10 rounds are in common use by law-abiding responsible citizens for lawful uses like self-defense. This is enough to decide that a magazine able to hold more than 10 rounds passes the Heller test. Now, of course, we all know that this is not the end of this story. After that time, there began a frenzy in California of people buying the standard capacity magazines that they had been denied. I'm sure there were a bunch of zombie magazines that crawled up from out of the earth where they were buried. And there was pretty much a a frenzy of cash at California gun shops as they were going through magazines by the crate, selling them to people who were starved for them. That all comes to a crashing halt at 5 p.m. today, Friday the 5th. This is from April 4th, 2019 by Bianca Bruno in Courthouse News. Judge stays his own order to allow high-capacity gun magazines. San Diego, California. California residents who have acquired high-capacity gun magazines in the week since a federal judge found the state's voter-approved ban on the firearms unconstitutional will be allowed to keep their weapons, even though they're not weapons, they're magazines, but whatever, but will not be able to import more into the state starting Friday at 5 p.m., a federal judge ruled Thursday in staying his order. U.S. District Judge Roger Benitez of the Southern District of California partially granted Attorney General Javier Becerra's request Thursday that he stay his court order last week, finding California's voter-approved ban on high-capacity gun magazines over 10 rounds, Proposition 63, unconstitutional. Excuse me a moment. One should not drink carbonated beverages before going live. Anyway.
No, you totally should.
Becerra's office appealed Benitez's 86-page order overturning Proposition 63 to the Ninth Circuit. In a short 6-page order released Thursday afternoon, Benitez ruled his 2017 preliminary injunction enjoining the state from requiring high-capacity magazine owners to turn over their previously legally acquired firearms should be reinstated, pending the approval. He also found the state can resume enforcing the 2000 state law barring the importation, manufacturing, sale, gifting, lending, or buying of gun magazines with more than 10 rounds of ammunition, which was temporarily lifted based on Benitez's court order last week. But Benitez declined to require those who have imported high-capacity magazines into California in the week since he declared the state's ban on the weapons unconstitutional to give up their weapons or be criminalized for owning them. The law criminalizing the importation or sale of the high-capacity magazines will be reinstated Friday at 5 p.m., according to Benitez's order. It is unclear how many large-capacity magazines have been imported into California in the last week. The judge recognized his order last week, cuts a less-traveled path, and the outcome is very important to all citizens. The court understands that strong emotions are felt by people of goodwill on both sides of the constitutional and social policy questions. The court understands that thoughtful and law-abiding citizens can and do firmly hold competing opinions on firearm magazine restrictions. These concerns augur in favor of judicial deliberation. There is an immeasurable societal benefit of maintaining the immediate status quo while the process of judicial review takes place, Benitez wrote. In a note to followers on his website Thursday, the California Rifle and Pistol Association to its followers, advised gun owners of Benitez's order and told them it is critical that anyone who possesses one of the magazines in California refuse to talk to law enforcement if asked about their magazine. Thursday's order follows a flurry of court filings by Becerra and the California Rifle and Pistol Association in the days following Benitez's order overturning Proposition 63. Becerra asked for a stay of Benitez's order Monday to preserve the status quo and prevent the surge of large-capacity magazine acquisitions in the state of California, pending the Attorney General's appeal to the Ninth Circuit. Benitez found Thursday that Becerra has demonstrated a substantial case on the merits and that there is a strong support the state suffers irreparable injury whenever its laws are enjoined. He also found the state interest in enforcing a law merges with the public interest where the law is valid. Becerra's office did not immediately return an email request for comment Thursday. So what this means is that those of you who live in California and who bought high-capacity magazines, quote-unquote, during the time that this order was in effect, that the ban was overturned, you can keep them. You don't have to turn them in. So, of course, being law-abiding citizens that you are, every single high-capacity magazine that you have in your possession was acquired during that time, wasn't it? Right?
Just say yes, everyone. Just say yes. Say yes, move on.
So, you guys have anything on this, Stealth Hunter? You have thoughts, opinions, comments?
Well, it doesn't really make sense to me because they already have the law that you can't have the stuff. So if they are going to say you can keep them, that means anybody who already had them anyway should be allowed to keep them. So I'm kind of trying to figure out how that's going to work. Otherwise, he just set up people to basically get jacked by the cops if they happen to use one of these magazines in a legal, lawful purpose.
Well, they acquired it during that week, didn't they?
Yeah, but the conflict, you know what I mean? It's something that's troubling me, and it makes me a little suspicious of what this guy's really up to. Because to make it legal and then turn around and reverse it, basically, and say, well, you can kind of keep your stuff, that's a little suspicious to me.
Well,
and I think there's an underlying issue.
What he's doing is he said that, okay, this law is unconstitutional. However, we all know that the state attorney general is going to appeal this decision to the Ninth Circuit. We all know what the Ninth Circuit is going to do when they hear it en banc. They're going to overturn his decision to render the ban unconstitutional. It will then have to make its way to the Supreme Court, where chances are, given the apparent tenor of the Supreme Court at this point, if they decide to accept it to grant cert to the case, they will probably rule that the judge's decision to render the ban unconstitutional was in fact the correct choice, and they will uphold it. What he's saying is we have to wait until this plays out. But since you guys acquired these magazines during this week, after I said that you could have them, you can keep them because you did this in good faith.
He didn't have to put that injunction in.
Magazine. That's funny.
Well, he didn't have to put that injunction. He could have just let the attorney general, say we're going to fight this, and it would have had an injunction put in anyway. Would have given more time for people to still get the mags. So that's why I'm saying it's a little. It's suspicious to me. Why say it's legal?
You think it sounds like a flip flop?
Yeah, because if the attorney general was going to appeal it, that could take weeks or months. Why not just let it roll? And about the time the appeal gets filed, or right before, he could have done this injunction and given a hell of a lot more time for people to get these mags. So that's why I'm saying it's suspicious. What is this guy up to? Because it doesn't make sense. What he said and all this other stuff, something's not adding up. It looks fishy. It smells fishy. Just shy of a fishing rod, and pulling a fish out of water, something's not right. That's just my take.
Okay. Roll call. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's all poop.
Okay. Would you care to expand on that?
This is about the high capacity magazines, right?
You don't know how much
Yes.
he's paying them because they did a group.
Hold on, let me move out of the way here. I think this was a huge opportunity that California can expand on. But yet again, you got to look at how the politics work in that state. I knew this was going to probably happen. I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise, but this is a great opportunity for gun owners in California to really stick it to the politicians. And, this judge, I think he did the correct thing. And I hope somehow they lift this injunction so they can have magazines. Because, there was I think Palmetto State shipped something like 750,000 magazines to the state of California.
A lot.
Yeah. So what? Now all these people, all these businesses are going to be out of money for these magazines, and now all of a sudden 700 and some odd thousand magazines are going to be grandfathered in. How's that going to go over? I mean,
well, and how are you going to tell what was purchased when? I mean, there's no way you can. What he in effect did was just said, okay, you guys can have all these and everything that you really had before, because they can't prove that you didn't have it before.
Right. I mean, there's no way you can track who purchased what at what time before what date. It's impossible.
Exactly.
It's
the
just
way
like
I see it is
bump stocks.
The way I see it is he just said, okay, all these magazines that you guys already had illegally that you weren't supposed to have, I just legitimized them. Thank you. You're welcome.
I mean, even if it comes back down to where they're restricted, at least they have something. But yet this is the time for those guys to stand up, really put the screws to these politicians, back this judge, back them.
Bro, there is a way. There's a way for them to track this stuff. The problem is it's just really hard. If they are determined, they could, and that is indeed part of why I'm saying this is fishy. Anybody who bought stuff, debit card, credit card, especially if they went, to a gun store, because I bet you a lot of people went to gun stores. They could
about everything with cash. Prove otherwise.
Yeah, people buy stuff. It's just like bump stocks. You can't tell how many people bought what bump stocks, how many people bought it off the street, how many people you cannot. There's no way you could track that. I mean, after
out there is going all Admiral Akbar saying it's a trap.
It could. Hey, it could be a trap because look at it. If they do put a stay on that and it does go back into effect, you just basically made millions, and I mean millions of people felons overnight. You can't do that. That's unjust.
Well,
oh, come on now. Don't be naive. Since when has something being unjust ever stopped them?
Especially in California. The government can do whatever they want. Keep this in mind. If they want to make something illegal, they want to nail you for something, they don't care. I want to make that very, very clear. They do not give a darn. If they want to do it, if they want to find out who did this and that, your bump stock example, if they want to find out, they can find out. Bet on that. It'll take a while. It's going to be hard. They will find out. They may not get everybody. They can get plenty. And that's the problem. That's why, and a lot of people have talked about the digital banking, why they're trying to eliminate people using cash. The law we have on the books for civil forfeiture, if you have over X amount of money, they can seize it and say it's drug money. They want to be able to control everything we do by keystroke. If they don't want you to have X amount of money, they hit a key on a keyboard, you're broke.
Okay. Everybody, if you're wearing headphones, you might want to turn it down just a minute. Night Strike, what are your thoughts on this?
Shut up, be infringed.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
That's my take on it. And you know what? All I have to say is fuck the Ninth Circuit. Oh, sorry.
Dude,
But you know,
I
what's
agree
gonna
in
happen.
principle, but not on this show.
Yeah, sorry, slip of the tongue. But you realize that California is going to take this back to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit's got to say no, and
Exactly.
strike it down. And if they do that, they literally open the door for it to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court making a ruling on this, making it the law of the land all over the country. So any state that has a magazine capacity ban, gone.
Well, that's one side of the coin. You got to think about the other side too.
It could be the other side, but I'm telling you right now, it was said yesterday on Match Chat, but don't plan on Kavanaugh being an upstanding judge, because he's already proven that he's not.
That's also
so far he's been very strong on the Second Amendment, though, on any ruling that he's made.
So far, but remember what he said about Planned Parenting, Planned Parenthood, when and whatnot, when he made that decision, when he was being sworn in. And then, did you see the decision he made not too long ago, where he fell in line with all the liberals? I'm gonna say I don't believe him.
Well, all I can tell you is that past behavior predicts future performance. And in the past, he's ruled pro-Second Amendment every ruling he's made.
But again, when he says one thing and he does another, that also points, is he really going to do the right thing when it comes to the Second Amendment? That's all I'm going to say.
I think the man's going to follow what the law is.
Well, what exactly did he do that doesn't follow the Constitution, though?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where I'm at.
But was it constitutional? And that's the thing.
So.
That's one of the reasons, just to briefly cut in, that's one of the reasons, for those of you who heard me talk, when I talk about law, very rarely do I bring my opinion into it, because law is law.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of laws out there, and everybody in here that, the law, you don't have to like and agree with it, but it is the law. And a judge, I don't care if it's the lowest level judge in this country to the highest of the land, they don't get to enforce their opinion. So he may have an opinion on one thing, but when it comes to implementing and carrying out the law, he has to do a job. If he doesn't do that job, he has a problem.
The only place that the law has for opinion is during the legislative process, because that's when you can give your opinion and make the law what you want it to be. However, once the law is passed during the judicial process, that's it. It is what it is, and you have to follow the law regardless.
So either way, California is going to have to make the choice whether to not try and get it back to the Ninth Circuit and completely screw themselves over.
I think they'll take it to the Ninth Circuit. I think the Ninth Circuit will overturn the judge's ruling. I think it'll go to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS will uphold the judge's ruling and thus render magazine bans kaput.
Unconstitutional.
Correct.
Exactly.
See, I don't think the SCOTUS
at
is
least
going to
that's
hear
what I tell myself, and I'm crossing my fingers. Kingpin, what do you think?
Well, assuming that the judge is on the level and he's not, trying to pull some trickery, rabbit out of the hat type of thing, I think the mistake that he's made was giving them the opportunity. He should have just let it go. I don't really know. It sounds fishy, and I'm wondering why he would be playing by their rules. Because if it was flipped, and this was a judge that banned the 30-round magazines, there's no way that judge would put a stay on their own ruling. So it sounds like if he's on the level, he made a huge mistake by assuming the other side's going to play fair.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a really good point. They never would have played fair on their side. Why the hell should we do it on ours? Black Cat, what do you think?
I'm kind of right there with you. I think it's going to go to the Ninth Circuit and get repealed. Obviously, I mean, they're going to overrule them. I don't see SCOTUS taking the case. They haven't taken anything like that in however many years. I mean, when was McDonald? That's the last major gun case we had.
Yeah.
So I think it'll end up going to the Ninth Circuit and get upheld, and that'll probably be the end of it. I think SCOTUS will refuse to hear it, but I would be hopeful. I see you guys are talking about Kavanaugh. I don't trust Roberts as far as I could throw the man. So
Yeah, Roberts would be the one that I would doubt on this.
Exactly. Right. So that would be my worry if it goes to SCOTUS, would be Roberts screwing us. I mean, where Sotomayor and Ginsburg and those, where that side's going to vote,
Yeah.
Well, Ginsburg's supposed to be gone at the end of what? June or something?
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
I haven't heard her giving up the ghost yet.
Well, she was supposed to put in, I guess, what do you call? I don't know if it's retirement or whatever, because she can't physically push it till 2020. She can't.
Well, she falls asleep during the Supreme Court hearings. There's video of her sleeping during the actual
during the oral
proceedings.
Right.
Yeah.
That in and of itself would be grounds for her to step down. You know what I mean? Because she can't perform the function of a Supreme Court justice.
There's no way in the world that's happening.
I don't see it either.
They're going to have to drag her out of there. She hates Donald Trump so much. There's no way in the world she's going to quit.
Well, if he wins in 2020, she ain't got another 4 years. I got 2 4 years.
No.
Well, they're not planning on him winning in 20. The Democrats aren't planning at all on him winning in 2020. Although they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. That's one BS law under a bunch of BS circumstances. So let's move to another BS law under some BS circumstances. This is from the Associated Press. Pittsburgh City Council takes final vote, passes controversial gun legislation. April 2nd, 2019. Pittsburgh City Council took a final vote Monday morning, passing a package of controversial gun laws introduced after last year's mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue. Council members voted 6-3 to pass the bill. They now head to Democratic Mayor Bill Peduto for his expected signature. The legislation will place restrictions on military-style assault weapons like the AR-15 rifle that authorities say was used in the October 27th rampage at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill, which killed 11 people and wounded 7. It also bans most uses of armor-piercing ammunition and high-capacity magazines, and allows the temporary seizure of guns from people who are determined to be a danger to themselves or others. After the vote came down, some people in the crowd clapped, but others, like Dennis Jordan, aren't too happy. "I will not abide by that law. Make a criminal out of me," said Jordan. "We know extreme protection orders will help reduce death by reducing suicides and allowing courts to intervene to prevent future tragedies like what we experienced with Tree of Life," said Jenna Paulette. Alan Willinger said that he and his wife became more active in gun reform when his family member, Daniel Legger, was injured in the Tree of Life massacre. "I'm glad Pittsburgh is willing to take on the responsibility of being sued because this is so important. It's worth being sued over," said Willinger. However, others disagree. "Where is money going to come from when the opposition wins court costs and attorney fees?" said Mary Koniski. The council gave tentative approval to the legislation in a vote last week. However, Second Amendment activists have made it known that they will challenge the legislation in court, pointing out that the state law doesn't allow municipalities to regulate firearms. The legislation was watered down last week in an effort to make it more likely to survive a court challenge. Allegheny County District Attorney Stephen Zappala Jr., a Democrat, told city council members in January that while he understood their desire to curtail gun violence, their proposed remedies were unconstitutional. Pennsylvania state law forbids municipalities from regulating guns, and pro-gun advocates say they'll sue to block the laws from taking effect. They should take their lessons from, I know it's a different state, but they should take their lessons from Cincinnati and Cleveland and Dayton and Toledo, who are constantly getting slapped down every time they attempt, and Columbus, who are constantly getting slapped down in Ohio for trying to violate our preemption laws. I can only hope that the same happens over there in PA. Black Cat, you have some insight into this? Hello?
Here, kitty,
while he figures how to unmute, what I will say is,
sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You finish your idea. I didn't realize I was muted.
Yeah, you were making a bunch of stuff. I had to mute you. Sorry about that. Making a lot of noise. Anyway, now if they try to enforce it, they will get shut down, whether they like it or not, because over near Philly, the township of Lower Merion made their whole township a gun-free zone. It was shut down immediately. There's a PA lawyer. His name is, I believe it's Eric Prince.
Joshua Prince.
Oh, Joshua Prince. Thank you. I remembered his last name. He took it to the courts, and I think he made it to like the state court. It didn't have to go no farther, and he shut them down like hard. And they had a lot of wealthy people fighting against him, but he took it to court and he won. So if Pittsburgh tries some stuff, more than likely he will be, I'm not saying the only one, but possibly one of the lawyers who would step up. And if he steps up again, he'll use Lower Merion and a bunch of other places like Philly. They've tried to do some stuff under Class A status. And it'll be shut down. Now, whether they'll have to remove the laws from their books is another story, but they won't be able to enforce it at the minimum if they try. That's all.
Yeah, Prince also has won in Erie, a big preemption case, and like he said, in Philadelphia. Trying to think what else. He has another one too. He's won 3 state preemption cases so far. Basically.
I think one had to do with I think it was on the east coast of PA. I believe it was Allentown tried to harass people or something for open carry, which is legal here.
That was that might have been Allentown. Erie was open carry. Erie was they arrested people for open carrying and having a rally in a city park, and that was one that he won. Philadelphia had to do with the license to carry firearms. They were putting extra stuff in on to get a license. He got that slapped.
Well, they still have stuff on in Philly for the license carry. If you have a outstanding parking ticket, you can't get a license to carry. But I know they shut down well, let me put it like this. Legally, a Philly cop can't walk up and say, show me a license to carry if you're open carrying, because open carry in and of itself is not probable cause or reasonable articulated suspicion of a crime being committed, about to be, or in progress. With that being said, they still do it anyway, and they still get hit in the courts and everything else. That I do know.
Does anyone know if any of the gun rights organizations are planning to file suit?
FAO, Firearm Owners Against Crime, already has Prince Law lined up to file suit.
Okay.
There's a group of us that are considering, I don't know what the plan is yet, but a group of us that were down there rallying the last time are kind of planning a march here at some point, and I'll get info out on my channel if that actually goes through. But
yes,
we're basically just going to swing rifles and march downtown again and make them write us a ticket, because basically the law that they passed is not the law that they were originally trying to pass. They pretty much completely neutered it to it's a summary offense. So it's like a jaywalking ticket right now. And I was reading it. It is very vaguely worded. I doubt they actually put the law in that news article because it's really hard to get through. From the way it looks, it's not illegal to possess an assault weapon or a 30-round magazine. It's illegal to, how did they say it? It's illegal to brandish an assault rifle or a 30-round magazine in the city while you're doing something illegally. It was really stupid. Basically, the only thing it would do is give them some kind of reason to harass you if you have a rally like we did last time. So it's more geared to violating our First Amendment rights than even just our Second Amendment rights. So they were trying for both.
So if I may, so they're trying to say if someone called and let's say they called in disturbing the peace or something, whether it's noise or something like that, and you happen to have a gun, it's just more of a reason.
Well, no, it has to be loaded.
Here. Let me read a piece here from Breitbart. This is from April 2nd. Let's see if I can get my computer to start behaving itself here. So it's titled Pittsburgh City Council passes prohibitions on longbows, AR-15s, and BB guns. On April 2nd, the Pittsburgh City Council passed prohibitions against longbows, AR-15s, and BB guns, among other things. The legislation was ubiquitously passed in response to the October 27, 2018 attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue. CBS Pittsburgh reports that the gun controls passed by a vote of 6-3, and they now head to Mayor Bill Peduto, who has been a strong proponent for new gun control laws. NBC News reports that the legislation makes it illegal to use, quote-unquote, an assault weapon in a public place. And Your Erie reports that the gun controls also prohibit the public discharge of longbows, compound bows, recurve bows, and crossbows. The laws also prohibit the public discharge of BB guns. The legislation sets an outright prohibition on possession of certain weapons within the city. Those include anti-tank guns, bazookas, bombs, booby traps, flamethrowers, grenades, mines, and mortar shells. President Trump called for armed security at houses of worship following the October 27, 2018 attack on a Tree of Life Synagogue because the synagogue had no armed security that day. Mayor Peduto appeared on Meet the Press on October 28th and rejected the idea of adding armed guards to synagogues, mosques, and churches, and even schools. However, Peduto did talk about Michael Bloomberg-founded gun control Mayors Against Illegal Guns. So, yeah.
That doesn't... Like the anti-tank weapons and also stuff, that stuff is what? Class 4 under the NFA?
Not necessarily. Anti-tank guns could be a 50 caliber rifle, maybe. I know a 20 millimeter rifle.
Yeah, a Lottie would be something like that, but that actually is considered a destructive device.
Is it?
A Lottie
in our state, it's offensive prohibited weapons under Title 18? If memory serves me correctly.
I don't know if that falls under that, but it would be considered a destructive device by the ATF if it's over.
Right, so it's already
certain
federal, and you also have state. So none of what they're doing makes any sense because the stuff is basically either unobtainable without the special permitting and already illegal to possess to begin with. It doesn't make sense. Why are you trying to regulate something that's already regulated and or illegal in our state?
That's right. Because they have to do something. Come on. We got to do something.
Yeah.
We have to do something. We can't just,
Well,
not
the BB stuff, the BB stuff, I could understand if they got like a bunch of people who complain about kids all the time. But even then, you have to be 18 to buy a BB gun, but kids, even where I live, have BB guns, and they're not 18. Their parents give it to them. So that's something they could have corrected without doing this. Longbows and whatever else there it said. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I want to set up a target in my backyard, I could shoot a longbow.
Oh, not in the city of Pittsburgh, you can't.
Well, I'm saying
prohibits the public discharge. Is your yard public or not, I guess would be the question. Prohibits the public discharge of longbows, compound bows, recurve bows, and crossbows. They also prohibit the public discharge of BB guns. So I guess that any air rifle competitions are right out the door in Pittsburgh, nor any archery competitions. Can't have them in Pittsburgh.
We have to go down to exceptions or exemptions too. Where is it? I was just looking at this. The prohibited weapons, you have mortars and stuff like that. It does prohibit assault weapons.
A bunch of stuff.
But then under exceptions, it says any firearm the item is housed appropriately. The firearm or item is secured from handling by those unauthorized to do so, and the firearm or device is unloaded when and if possible. So basically, you could even, according the way this is reading, the only way they could effectively even try and find you is if you were carrying an assault weapon with a loaded magazine in and around chambered. So if you carried an unloaded assault weapon, even that still wouldn't classify under this.
Wow.
So if I walk down the street with an AR and I got a 30-round mag loaded on my belt, it's just not in the weapon itself. It's legal.
Yeah, it's not loaded. Yeah, and a lot of the other stuff they did, like I mean, it's they're banning selective fire capable firearms.
They're banning what?
Which they list a whole shit ton of them that almost no. Some of them are just stupid because some of them, like a Steyr AUG. Do you know how many full auto transferable Steyr AUGs there are in the country? They can be counted on one hand.
Doggone many.
No, you can count that on one hand.
Well, they may be trying to ban what do you call it? Gun stores and stuff in city limits. I know in Philly there's like 10 gun stores, and of the
there's
10,
a lot in Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm saying unless that's what their goal is to make it impossible to get a gun in city limits to possibly, by their logic, get a gun to commit a crime or something. But even then, that wouldn't really make sense.
Hey, Seven Wonders, throw out a link to that FPC petition website. He says for those who missed it, I just spent an hour sending petitions through and the Firearms Policy Coalition. It's easy. Yeah, go ahead and throw that link out, would you?
If anybody wants to, I'll make a comment after this post and list the FOAC website down below in your comment section. That's the guys that are kind of at the forefront of fighting the Pittsburgh law right now. They're the ones that are in with Prince Law that are actually putting up a legal challenge.
Throw them a couple bucks.
Yeah.
I'm sure that funding will help them with this.
Yeah. And like I said, there's some of us that are going to try and, like I said, we'll see. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere unless one of us gets cited down there, which is what we may actually go do the march for.
Talking having standing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to get standing to challenge this or not, unless we do a march and a couple of us get cited during the march, and then we'll have standing to sue,
Yeah.
So
just make
that
sure
might be what it's going to come down to.
Just make sure you're not the one that's a martyr. I'm just saying.
Oh, if I go down there and they get cited, I'll sue the shit out of them. Don't get me wrong.
But it's just a ticket, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a summary offense.
Yeah, but
it's basically an expense.
Maximum fine is $1,000, I think.
Ooh, shit! I wouldn't want to pay that.
Shit. I'll be back.
What I was going to say is that type of fine, you do have to show up to pay it. You actually have to go to the courthouse or wherever they have to pay the stuff. It's not the police department, but you would have to show up to pay it.
Yeah.
Because I know traffic, and again, I don't drive, but if I'm not mistaken, traffic you can pay online. Something like that you got to be in person for. So you would have to, if you're like out of state or something, you would have to come back into PA with the cash or money order or however they allow you to pay it and pay it. Otherwise, you could get a warrant issued for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
And if I'm not mistaken, if it's 1,000, if it's up to 1,000, it could be a lower level felony bench warrant. So,
yeah, I don't want to be the test case.
No, so
it's just too much. I mean, it's $1,000, but I don't just have $1,000 laying around, right? Who does?
I don't. I mean, God, I wish I did.
And they do that on purpose, and that's why. That's exactly why they did that. Because they want you to weigh whether or not the annoyance is worth it.
Oh, again, there's I've said this before, and others have said this. There's a way to peacefully protest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for those who want to show up and possibly be the test case, cool. You don't need to show up
I mean, if you got that $1,000 that you can have tied up until the courts, until you sue them and win your lawsuit, which I have no doubt would happen based on the preemption law. But you know, if you got $1,000 that you can tie up for that long, you know, hey, go for it.
And you can, you know, I mean, but for everybody else, all of us, you know, normal little creatures, you can peacefully protest. You don't need to be a test case. People.
All right. Well, we're running short on time, so let's go ahead and move on. We're going to move to a story from April 1st, although it's not an April Fool's joke. In Breitbart by AWR Hawkins. Study: assault weapons and magazine bans do not lower homicide rates. A study on state-level gun control laws in the U.S. shows that bans on high-capacity magazines and assault weapons do not lower homicide rates. The study was headed by Boston University School of Public Health's Michael Siegel, and another listed study author was Harvard gun control advocate David Hemingway. The study, The Impact of State and Firearm Laws on Homicide and Suicide Deaths in the USA, 1991 to 2016, a panel study, boy, what a mouthful, isolated 4 states to study 10 different types of gun control to see if certain gun controls were successful in reducing homicide and or suicide rates. Via their research, they discovered that high-capacity magazine and assault weapon bans do not lower homicide rates. In an interview with Futurity.org, lead study author Michael Spiegel elaborated, although I completely understand the desire to ban assault weapons, I just don't see empirical evidence that such bans have any substantial impact on homicide rates. These bans are most often based on characteristics of guns that are not directly tied to their lethality. He observed, laws regulating the sale of assault weapons are unlikely to have a large impact on homicide rates because these weapons are used in only a very small proportion of homicides. The vast majority of firearm homicides in the United States are committed with handguns. The study Spiegel oversaw also shows researchers discovered changes in household gun ownership were not found to be significantly associated with homicide or suicide rates. This runs 180 degrees counter to the left's incessant claims that a gun in the house puts the homeowner at greater risk. I could have told you that, and I don't need to have a fancy degree from a fancy school to do it.
But you don't?
No. Been saying this for years.
I'm surprised this is one of the more unbiased, despite where the people are coming from and what they believe.
Yeah, I was very surprised at the honesty despite their bias. That's what shocked me. You know,
and it's from Breitbart too.
What's that?
And it's from Breitbart too.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yes, wait, I think I heard that wrong. Did you put honesty in the media in the same sentence?
Honesty in this study.
There's
still media,
there's probably a problem. There's a problem.
There's still media. The online media, but the media. So yeah, honest. Yeah, they're media. They consider.
I find Breitbart to generally be honest and whatnot. At least on the stuff that I read them about. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and put a link directly to the study in the chat.
Hey, nice try.
So you guys can go ahead and read the study for yourselves.
Nice try.
What?
When are you getting here?
Oh, wait.
Don't, guys. Don't.
Night Strike, roll call's here waiting to show you the door.
I'm just figuring out who I'm going to send the pizza to this year since Night Strike.
You know, you're gonna have to send it to Sarge.
There you go.
I mean, I'll take a pizza if you're trying to.
That means you're not getting. Well, Matt's not going to be here, so.
Do you want me to put your home phone number out instead of the hotel phone number this year, Night Strike, so you're not lonely?
No, I don't want you to do that.
Not that any of us would have set his, phone number and had people call him while he was in, at Wanamaker last year.
Well, okay, what I'll do instead, since I can't link directly to the study for some stupid reason, I will link to the article in Breitbart, and then you guys can find the study from there.
Goody.
I think it's interesting reading. There you go.
Yay.
All right. Now, speaking of April Fools, this is from 4419, somewhere out in Ghost neck of the woods. 2 Arkansas men arrested for shooting each other while wearing bulletproof vests, by Dan Zimmerman in The Truth About Guns. We could make up a story like this, but why bother when you have people like Charles Ferris and Christopher Hicks running around unsupervised? The pair of Arkansans? I don't know how the hell what the correct term is. I'm sure Ghost could tell me. Arkansans, whatever.
Arkansans.
The 2 dudes from Arkansas were reportedly lounging on Hicks's deck, enjoying adult beverages when Ferris, who was wearing a bulletproof vest for some reason, told Hicks to shoot him. That sounds like a great idea, so Hicks grabbed a gun. We don't know how far apart they stood, but Hicks shot Ferris in the chest one time with a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle, according to the report. The bullet hit him in the top left corner of the chest, and the vest stopped the bullet. The shot still hurt Ferris and left him with a red mark on the chest. As you'd expect, we're just glad they didn't use something chambered in a caliber with more oomph. Still, it stung, and Ferris wasn't happy about it, although we're not sure exactly what he thought was going to happen. Ferris took the vest off and gave it to Hicks to put on. Charles Ferris was pissed about getting shot and how much it hurt, so he unloaded the clip into Christopher's back, according to the report. None of the rounds penetrated the vest, but Christopher Hicks suffered bruises. It hurt enough that Ferris went to a local hospital to have the wound checked out. When sheriff's deputies responded, the 2 made up a BS story at first to try to conceal how pig ignorant they'd been, but it didn't hold up for very long. Ferris told deputies about drinking with Hicks and how they shot each other with bulletproof vests on after deputies spoke with Ferris's wife. It's always the wife that spoils all the fun, am I right? The 2 are now facing charges of aggravated assault, and they're lucky neither of them missed the other's vest and earned a Darwin Award nomination. Wow. Yes,
Yeah, they should have won the award.
A hold my beer moment, literally.
Dave, what was that? What was that comment you had before?
That wasn't a hold my beer comment situation. That's a hey ma, look at this, no hands.
Yeah. Hey,
there's a movie reference. We were just talking about this. Come on, movie reference.
Oh, you're talking about the Super Troopers thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
I will give them credit. They
now?
were.
Ultimately, the biggest problem with that is those guys are us. Like it or not, they get lumped in with us. One group of idiots goes out and tests their bulletproof vest by wearing them, and that means me and Budget are going to go do the same thing.
Well, I don't think see you doing that, David. But Budget, I can totally see Budget doing that.
No, I'm smart enough. I would have somebody else wear it, not me.
Oh, there you go.
No, like we were saying in the pre-chat, put it on a freaking gel block if you're going to test a vest, or do a Paul Harrell meat target or something. Don't put it on your buddy.
I'll wear one if Night Strike. I'll wear one if Night Strike's shooting. I know I'll be safe then.
Oh, model.
That hurts, man. That hurts.
The quote Ron White at point blank range, you'd still be safe.
That hurts.
All right.
I will say at least there's some.
Now that we're leaving on the laugh, let's go ahead and leave on an even higher note and move on to Roll Call's favorite segment, self-defense shoutouts. For those of you who are new to the show or who have not stuck around to the end, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the death or injury of the bad guy. They are, in fact, where I'm reveling in the continued life, liberty, and prosperity and pursuit of happiness of the good guy, since they had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves against the bad guy. This is from ABC15.com. Homeowner shoots, kills intruder at residence near 19th and Peoria Avenues, Phoenix, Arizona. One person is dead following an early morning shooting at the 19th and Peoria Avenues in Phoenix. Phoenix police tell ABC 15 that 2 men tried breaking into a home near 19th and Peoria Avenues around 1 a.m. The homeowner was armed and shot at the intruders to keep them from entering the home. One of the intruders was transported to an area hospital in critical but stable condition, according to police. The second intruder, identified as 34-year-old Michael Ahumada, was pronounced dead at the scene. At this time, police are not identifying the homeowner. So good for him to be able to defend himself against 2 dudes who were coming into his home up to no good. Up next, we have from April 4th, 2019 from WTAE by Marcy Cipriani. Alleged robber shot to death in Duquesne. Police say no charges against shooter at this time. Duquesne, Pennsylvania. All I saw was the barrel of the gun, said 73-year-old Crosby Marshall. The taxi driver said he decided to fire his gun, killing a man who he said had just tried to rob him Wednesday afternoon in Duquesne. Police arrived at the scene on Poplar Street and found a 33-year-old man with multiple gunshot wounds. The man was pronounced dead. His name has not yet been released. Marshall said he had picked the man up and a female passenger minutes earlier. He said he knew something was wrong when the man began sending him along an alley, then suddenly told him to stop his SUV. I turned around, and when he said he was going to rob me, then hit me with the gun, said Marshall. 1 second. Said Marshall. Where am I? Said Marshall. Marshall said that while bleeding, he managed to get out of the car. He said the female passenger ran, and the man got out too. Marshall said the man was pointing a gun at him. I was backed in a corner, said Marshall. That's when he said he fired his weapon. Police say Marshall fired 3 times, killing the man. They said Marshall had a permit to carry the firearm and is not charged. I just had to do what I had to do, said Marshall. I'm just happy to be here. And last, but absolutely most certainly not least, this is by the Associated Press from April 2nd, 2019, in Barboursville, West Virginia. West Virginia mom pulls gun on man trying to abduct her 5-year-old. Police in West Virginia say a man was trying to abduct a child at a mall when the mother stopped him by pulling out a gun. This is from a Facebook post by the Barboursville Police Department, April 1st at 11:25 p.m. On 4/1/19, at approximately 6:17 p.m., a call was made to Cabell County 911 from a female inside the Huntington Mall. The female stated to 911 dispatchers that while she was in a department store, a suspect attempted to grab her 5-year-old daughter. The female stated that she pulled out a firearm and the male suspect left the scene. The female stated that she then reported the incident to mall security. Mall security and officers from the Barboursville Police Department observed the male suspect, as described by female caller, walking near the food court and detained him. A statement was taken from the female and her child, and the male suspect was placed under arrest. The crime is still currently under investigation by the Barboursville Police Department. At this point in the investigation, detectives believe this was an isolated incident that was quickly controlled and no further danger to the public exists. News outlets report that 50-year-old Mohammed Fatih Hussein Zayan of Alexandria, Egypt, was arraigned Monday night in Cabell County Magistrate Court on a felony charge of attempted abduction. According to a criminal complaint, a woman was shopping with her 5-year-old daughter at the Huntington Mall in Barboursville when a man grabbed the girl by the hair and tried to pull her away. Police say the mother pulled out a gun and told the suspect to let go of the child. The man released the child and was later detained by mall security and Barboursville police near a food court. Zayan was being jailed on a $200,000 cash bond. Jail records didn't indicate whether he has an attorney. I got to tell you something. As a father of 2 girls, I'd have just shot him dead and saved the state a lot of money. Frankly, I would. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't say things like that, at least publicly. I'd have shot that son of a bitch dead right there. He gone. Somebody, if I know for a fact that if somebody grabbed one of my little girls by the hair, tried to drag him off in front of me, they wouldn't live to see the inside of a jail cell.
Yeah, I have a daughter. I got to say that's kind of what, that's kind of my
right
thoughts.
There.
2 in the chest, 1 in the head right there. That'll work.
In the story that you talked about before, the guy that was trapped in the corner and shot the dude 3 times, he said that he did what he had to do. And that right there is something that he'll probably get criticized for. because he actually was. Cause you hear that all the time with all the, and you hear 'em in the politics and everything. People do what they have to do to survive. When they're talking about criminals selling drugs, when they're talking about criminals robbing stores, when they're talking about criminals uh, breaking into our country illegally, it's all these things about they're doing what they have to do to survive. And then a situation like the story that that man was in, where he was actually doing what he had to do to actually survive, and he will get trashed for that. But if he was a gangbanger in the same alley 6 hours later in the middle of the night and pop somebody, well, I'm doing what I got to do to survive. It's nonsense.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a huge difference.
Yeah, there's
Unfortunately,
yeah.
they don't want to recognize that.
Yeah, you don't have to sell drugs to survive. You don't
No.
have to rob people to survive.
You
don't
could
have
do
to
this
cheat
thing called get a job.
cheating, lying, stealing, being dishonest, just being a rotten, evil person. You don't need to do that to survive. It's been proven throughout thousands and thousands of years of humanity. But that gentleman who was put in a terrible situation did what he had to do to survive, and he's not going to get any credit for that.
No. I'm glad that that last story turned out the way it did, where she was able to prevent her daughter from being abducted by that guy. That when my oldest daughter was little, we went through a horrible uh 15 minutes in Walmart when my wife and I, we look away for a second, we look back and she's gone. And we searched the whole store and they locked down the store, and you know, she thought it was funny and she was hiding inside one of those big circular racks of clothes. She went into the middle and was hiding from us there. But that was the most horrific, terrible feeling I've ever had. Well, right up till the day that those troopers woke me up to tell me about her accident. But anyhow, that was horrific. So I can't imagine how it would be to actually see somebody grabbing her by the hair and dragging her off, and know that your worst fears are actually coming true right in front of you. I have to give a level of credit and a giant round of applause to mom for deciding to take the responsibility for her and her family's safety, because not a lot of people want to do that nowadays, and B, having the determination to exercise that right and do what she had to do to protect herself and her child. That's what they tell us, and the theory goes that the Second Amendment is about defending yourself from tyrants, and that is true. But it is also all about just defending yourself, whether it be from tyrants or whether it be from the individual who wants to do you or yours harm. And we have to, as Americans, as gun owners, as people of integrity and responsibility, we have to be vigilant about protecting that right to protect ourselves. That's why I, end the show the way I do every week. Speaking of ending the show, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Black Cat and Night Strike. They had to hop off. If you're not already subbed to those guys, why not get out there, go sub to them? Speaking of subbing to these guys, every single guy on this panel does great content, has great insights, and needs your support, especially now with this YouTube's wonderful decision to limit live streaming on mobiles, like to those who have 1,000 subs or more. That affects Black Cat's ability to bring us coverage of the Pittsburgh rallies when they have them, and many other smaller creators who do the same types of things. So let's go ahead and support them, get them over that threshold. Speaking of people on the panel, let me go ahead and run through the panel here and give everybody an opportunity to give their final thoughts, last words, and plugs. Kingpin, anything you'd like to leave us with, sir?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a great conversation. I love this show. I love the topics you cover. I love the passion that you cover them with. And speaking of the same thing, go check out Patriot in the Dark's channel. Check out his Defend Liberty project and support him. You know, he's doing a lot of really cool things. He's got a Patreon now, so go hit him up on there. But definitely go check out his Defend Liberty project and watch the video. He explains it better than I can, and get on board with what he's trying to do.
All right, there you go. Roll call coming to us from Tulsa. So what do you want to leave us with, sir? It better not be birds chirping in the sunshine either.
The birds are chirping. It's nice out. I'm surrounded by great people. I want to thank you for having me on the show. Please do what Budget said. I think that taking away the live stream capability on phones for people that don't have 1,000 subscribers is detrimental. Just as you subscribe, when people go to rallies or when people go to like the J.M. Davis Museum or the Wanamaker Gun Show, we cannot bring that content. Not everybody can get here. And then some people can only get here once. And it's vital that we get this information out. So please help Black Cat. Rupan does a lot of stuff at the range with his guns. He doesn't have 1,000 subscribers. He does a lot of live shoots. Now he can't do that. You guys that aren't so familiar, I can't drag a laptop around Wanamaker Gun Show. It's impossible to do that. So please go subscribe. I'm not going to plug anything else. Go subscribe to these people. Get them over that threshold. And you know that's a finger in the eye to YouTube. So please go support guntube.org. And other platforms like gunchannels.com. This stuff is vital, and now you see why it's vital. Now you see why all of us tell you to go join these platforms, to help these platforms if they have Patreons, because this is what happens when a big controlled platform like Google, Instagram, you know, all these things start changing their policy rules, then we lose this stuff. So it's vital that we keep these things in place. Thank you again, Budget. I really do appreciate it. Black Cat, I appreciate everything you do. All my subscribers that watch this show because I'm on it, go subscribe to Black Cat right now. Please go do it. Let's get him over the threshold. So when he goes to these rallies, I can see what happens. I can report it. You can report it, and so on down the line.
And last but certainly not least, Stealth Hunter. Anything you want to leave us with, sir?
I appreciate the invite. Everybody, as everyone else has said, go subscribe. What YouTube and all these other platforms are doing, it's not a open platform anymore. They are playing their games, and you know what? It is, in my opinion, I don't give my opinion often, but in my opinion, silencing our voice. That's not acceptable. We should be able to have our opinions heard. If someone don't want to hear it, then so be it. But we should still have the ability to have our voice. And our voices are being silenced one by one by one, platform by platform. You know, and as much as you don't like the guy, I will say it right now. People are saying when they went after Alex Jones, he was just a start. And you know what? He was just a start. Now they're coming out to everybody. And it's wrong. So support everybody however you can. Patreon, subscribing, making videos, thumbs up, comments, whatever you can physically do within your means, please do so. That's all I got.
And speaking of supporting channels, I want to thank each and every one of you out there in the chat for being here, and especially those who've been here for the entire hour and 11 minutes. You know, as always, I am amazed and humbled that you've chosen to spend your time listening to us and talking with us. You know, it's humbling, and I absolutely appreciate all the support, you know. But that being said, if you guys want to support the channel more, if you want to support any of these other channels more, you know, there are ways that you can do it that aren't going to cost you a dime. Yes, the Patreon is awesome. I love absolutely every single one of my patrons over there. You guys are great. By the way, if you hadn't noticed in my last video I put out, the one on mechanical offset, I started giving a shout out at the end to my supporters just as a little thank you. So I'm going to start doing that some more. But if you want to support without doing any finances, that's great too. The way you can do that is by liking all the videos that you see by your favorite channels. That helps trigger the algorithms to make them grow. You know, hit that thumbs up, hit the share. You know, a share in the right spot can mean a lot. You know, if you are a Reddit person and you share the right video to the right subreddit, you know, that could really help a creator out. Give them a share. Share it on your Facebook. You know, do things like that to help support and promote your favorite channels whose message you want to help spread. You know, leave comments. Lots of comments on a video really help it take off, which in turn really helps it get exposed to other people, which helps the creator get subscribers, which gives them a greater reach and gives them a larger voice. And that's something that we really need for our niche right now. You know, all those things don't cost you anything but a little bit of time. And if you support a creator, I think that's just a small price to pay to help them out. So, you know, thanks a lot. On that note, I want to encourage you guys. You know, we have this thing going on in Pittsburgh. We have this stuff going on in California. The forces of tyranny are marching with their jackboots stamping in unison all across the country, and we have to fight that because nobody else is going to. Make sure that you contact your Congress critters and elected representatives and let them know what your opinions are on these issues. Send them snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, semaphore, smoke signals, bicycle messengers, carrier pigeons. Do whatever you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. See you guys on the next one.